Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Adventures of the Broken Retired. I'll be your host, Don, and myself, along with my trusty remote, Elmer the Reckless. We'll tell you a story and maybe make you have some good memories, hopefully. Thank you very much for being here. I really do appreciate everyone who has subscribed and who has put any comments. Again, the comments are absolutely wonderful. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you're made aware of when new videos come out. In case you'd like to watch them, you don't have to go searching. And I really do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I've had a lot of fun doing this. Again, I'll say it. I've had a lot of fun doing this. And I really do appreciate it. So, this morning, as I have said in previous videos, I have breakfast every morning, right? And typically I have a multi-grain bread, a lean meat, and lemon. And I love the lemons. I can't imagine they're anything but good for you. Today, when I had breakfast, I thought I'd change it up a little bit. So here's a big change, right? So I added a piece of cheese to the sandwich with the grain bread and the lean meat. And we had some little tomatoes. I call them all, if it's a small tomato, I call them all cherry tomatoes. But in this particular case, they're different sizes. They're not all the same small size. They're different colors. Wild Wonders, not sponsored, of course. But I think that's the name of them, is Wild Wonders. They're fantastic. I love those things. So I put some of those on my plate this morning as well. I had tomatoes along with my lemon, grain bread, cheese, and lean meat. And those tomatoes being there, every time, here I've interrupted myself, every time I sit down to do this, there's always a concern, oh man, what are you going to talk about when you run out of stories? How long are you going to be able to come up with this stuff? There's only a certain number of days in everybody's life. So, how many stories can there be? You're going to run short, which is a concern, And then all of a sudden, bingo, a story will pop into my mind, and lo and behold, that's what happened this morning by putting tomatoes on my plate. Let me tell you a story about tomatoes and about my dad. For a few years, my dad had a garden in the backyard. It wasn't very big. I don't remember all what he grew in there. I remember he grew cauliflower, and halfway through eating it at dinner, we discovered it was full of caterpillars. that didn't go so well. Excuse me. Yeah, that didn't go so well. Boy, that cauliflower sure was good until we found out it was full of caterpillars. Anyway, one day I was walking home from school. Canandaigua was a small town, and I did a lot of walking to school. And when we got into high school, my mom's backyard, my parents' backyard, backed up to a whole bunch of empty fields. Well, one day in the past, I'm sure they were all farmers' fields. In fact, there was an old apple orchard down at one end. The trees were far beyond their producing years. They were all gnarly looking. And going out there after dark with a little kid, man, that was just spooky. Go around dusk, you thought something was going to get you. But anyhow, behind my parents' house was a whole bunch of empty fields. And if you went out their backyard, there was the flats where we used to ride our motorcycles. And you took a left, you walked down to the creek, then you take a right, and there was 3 little drainage ditches. They got bigger, which reminds me of another story. Roger, remember when I got your truck stuck there? Anyway, you walk down, you take a right at the creek. There's 3 little drainage ditches that you go over. And then you walk a little further, and there was the high school. So to get to high school, I just walked through the fields behind my parents' house, and a lot of other kids did as well. So we'd walk to school that way. Come home in the afternoon. I'd go in the house, change my clothes, get the motorcycle out, go out and ride in the flats. But anyway, my dad, my dad has a garden, and he's growing stuff in there. I think they probably grew. My dad ate a lot of cucumbers, so he probably grew cucumbers too. Anyway, he grew tomatoes, and I had absolutely no use for tomatoes. I mean, none. I mean, tomatoes made good ketchup, and that was the extent of their use. Okay, uh, I did not like. I didn't even like watching people eat tomatoes. So one day, middle of the summer, I guess, I don't know. Well, it could have been middle of the summer. I wouldn't have been in school. So I guess it was in the spring, and I'm walking home from school, and I come walking down my parents' backyard, and I walk past my dad's garden, and hanging on the vine is one tomato, and it was perfectly round, and it was perfectly ripe, and it was beautiful. The sun shining off of it, the contrasting color of the green vine, the brown dirt, the green grass, and that bright red tomato was incredible. And my eyes were drawn to it, and it just looked like it would be the best tasting thing ever. So I reached down and picked that tomato, kind of wiped it off with my hands a little bit, and stood right there in the backyard and ate that tomato, warm from the sunshine, lit fresh off the vine, like picked seconds before I ate it. And it was fantastic. It was great. It really was one of the best things I had ever eaten. Ever since then, I have absolutely loved tomatoes. Um, I make a lot of stuff with tomatoes, and I get tomatoes as often as I can. Sometimes at the grocery store, they'll have locally grown. You can tell they're locally grown because they're ugly, uh, but so we can get them. I don't have a garden. I haven't had time over the last few years to have a garden. Has been a lot. Been a long time since I had a garden. I've been working too much. I used to love having a garden. Cherry tomatoes. I used to pick cherry tomatoes out of the garden in my backyard. We'd save bread bags, and I'd pick a whole bread bag full of cherry tomatoes every day. I'd go to the neighbor's house and give them away. After a while, they wouldn't answer the door. Uh, anyhow, I ate that tomato, and that tomato was good. It was the last one. So when I walked away, there was nothing but a naked vine, uh, and that tomato was great. I went in the house, got changed, got my motorcycle out, went for out on the flats, go meet all my buddies to go ride. Come home later on that afternoon, had to be home at 6 o'clock for dinner or whatever it was. And I walk in the house, put the bike in the garage. I walk in the house, and my dad looks at me, and he's got a grin on his face. And he says, "You know what I'm going to do?" I said, "What are you going to do?" He said, "I've got one tomato left. I've been saving it for a special time, and this is it. I'm going to go get that tomato I've got, and I'm going to have it with my dinner." And he went like this, "I'm going to have it with my dinner." And panic took over my, panic took me over. And when he walked outside and saw that the tomato was gone, he was not impressed. And he somehow, even though I hated tomatoes, he somehow had like a sixth sense, and he knew it was me. And he walked in the house and he said, "You ate my tomato." I shouldn't be. I shouldn't be laughing because the guy was truly heartbroken. You know, he'd been saving that, and I didn't know. I was a stupid kid. I didn't know. So, excuse me. So my father, because of me, did not reap the fruits of his labor. Uh, I don't think. I don't think he had a garden much longer than that. I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't remember. I know this. If he did have a garden after that, never was there a day when I walked out there and picked something out of it. Because I had really upset the guy. And, you know, my dad was a really nice guy. He really was. He was very, very understanding. And, I mean, he was a helper Smurf, man. And he was a good guy, and he worked hard to take care of his family, and I ate his tomato. Anyway, so there's my dad and the tomato story. Thank you very much for being here. Please, if you have the opportunity and you like to, please subscribe, share, like, do all that kind of good stuff. And don't forget to hit the notifications bell so that you can be made aware of when new videos come out, and you don't have to go fishing around trying to find them if you'd like to watch them. I've got my remote here. This is Elmer the Double Clicker, and as suggested to me by a person in the comments, it may just be that he's a double clicker. So watch this. Nope, I just clicked him twice and he didn't work. Did you see that? Come on, Elmer, tighten up.